Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. This is a new tool that has been devised by me for helping out in putting the right number of questions for the senior clerkship written exam. As you see here on the left side, these are the subjects: the approach to child with heart failure, chronic cough, hypertension, weakness, recurrent infections, jaundice, sepsis, asphyxia, prematurity, that's for neonates, fever and rash, and approach to a child with cancer. So I put the similar topics that belonging to each specialty on this table here, and therefore we get the percentage of each topic to give a fair share and distribution between the marks. So for example, neonates is consisting of 23% of the total subjects, cardiovascular 18%, ID 18%, neurology, gastro-oncology between 10 to 11%, respiratory 9%. So therefore, out of 28 marks, which is based on 13 MCQ questions, 2 R-type questions, each R-type give you 6 marks. Each R-type is 3 marks, and you have 2 questions, so that's 6 marks. SAQ questions, 3 marks for each question, and you have 3 questions, therefore total of 9 marks. So total marks for this exam is 28 marks, and this is the distribution for them. So for neonates, we have to get 6 marks, cardiovascular 5, and so on. So when I come to put the questions here, for example, I got a question, 1 MCQ from heart failure, 1 MCQ for chronic cough, no MCQ for hypertension, 1 MCQ for weakness, nothing for recurrent infections, 1 MCQ for jaundice. Perhaps I got 2 MCQs for sepsis, maybe 4 for asphyxia, maybe 2 for prematurity, approach to fever with a child. Perhaps I've been given 3 questions, approach to child with cancer, 1 question. I put the R types here. For example, I got 1 question for hypertension, I've got 1 question for recurrent infections, I've got 1 question for sepsis. And then the SAQs, I've got 1 question here, I've got 2 questions for a chronic cough, I've got 1 question for weakness. So then I will look here at the recommendations. As I was putting the number of questions, it was calculating the mark that's coming from each subject as well as the number of questions. So here we have 16 MCQs, required only 13. So it tells you that you need to reduce the number of MCQs. The R types, we've been given 3 questions. The required is only 2 questions. So it asks you to reduce one of the R type questions. Similarly here for the SQs. If I want to look into the subjects on this, on the right hand side, it says we've been given too much questions of neonates. We require only questions equal to 6 marks, and we have a difference of 5 marks extra, so we need to reduce. Then for cardiovascular, we have given extra questions that are giving you 2 extra marks, we need to reduce. But we are doing perfect for the ID for neurology. For gastro, we are not representing this specialty in the exam, still far away by 2 marks. Similarly for oncology, so we need to replace more questions for gastro and oncology. So coming back here to gastro, the jaundice part, so we have here 1 question, so perhaps we can remove this MCQ, so that's reduce the number of MCQs there, and we put 1 R type here, and so that will cover the gastro. So now we are perfect. Okay, and then we remove from the other specialty. For neonates, it's asked us to reduce, so perhaps reducing this one. Still we have 2 marks extra there for neonates. We still have 1 extra R type question here, so we may take 1 from hypertension. Perhaps that's cardiovascular. We have already extra, so it says reduce. So we took off this R type. I think we are good from the R type numbers, but we need to add 1 more point for cardiovascular. So for hypertension, perhaps adding 1 MCQ, and that make cardiovascular covered in here. Neonates, we still have 2 extra marks that we need to remove. and perhaps we take them from here. So that gives you a perfect for nearness. We still have one more extra question that we need to remove from this particular type to make it 13 MCQs instead of 14. So again, we may take it off from respiratory. It says you have 4 marks in there, so 4 extra, so we can remove something from the respiratory. That's from chronic cough. We have 2 SAQs, so the required is only 3, so perhaps if we remove 1, so then we have 3 SAQs, but this time we still have 1 extra, so we remove this MCQ from here. So that's give you perfect for respiratory, perfect for MCQs, R-types, SAQs. The only thing in here that for oncology is ask us to add more, two more questions, 2 more marks for oncology. So oncology here we have only 1. What we can do is if we make it, for example, 3 MCQs in here, so that is perfect in there. However, we have extra marks for ID and neurology. ID, if we remove 1 from here, so that would be 2, that's ID, and neurology weakness, perhaps we remove this one. So we are good back again. Perfect in here, perfect in there. I hope this explains it, and it's I found it very practical and nice to be used. It can be used for other exams. Thank you and best wishes for everyone. Bye.